Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi Goldhar. Welcome back. It is an honor and a privilege to have Rabbi Avraham Goldhar, co-founder of Zichru, together with our good friend, Barry Leibowitz. I think we've already discussed how we got to know each other. It was in the last few weeks before All Daf was launching, and they reached out to us with an idea about Zichru Simanim. Rabbi Goldhar could talk about that, what the Simanim are. But we are just a couple days before their major event. They have already come to a place where there are people who have managed to memorize 1,000 Dafim, Simanim, and points on 1,000 Dafim, which is something we could say probably the first time in history this has ever happened. We know many people that have phenomenal brains and phenomenal heads and are able to memorize. We've known people throughout the generations who have photographic memories, but to have regular people, regular balabatim, regular learners who are able to stand in line at a grocery store, who are able to sit in traffic, in case that happens where you live, and just go over dafim in their minds and constantly create new ways to memorize more than they're learning with Zichru. That is something that we could say truly, the cliche word, unprecedented. So we want to talk about two things. We want to talk about the event itself and what led up to the event, the history of Zichru, just a little bit, and then some practical guides, some DIY, some do-it-yourself. If you haven't joined Zichru yet, you want to work on some memorization, some simanim on your own, Rabbi Goldhar will spill the beans, give us a secret sauce of how someone could do this on their own. Rabbi Goldhar, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Rabbi Shwed, and as mentioned, we're just a few days away, a week or so away from the beginning of our fourth year in this Daf Yomi Machzor. It's unbelievable. I and Barry, we both have tremendous hakaras tov for all Daf. Zikru was a concept. We thought about it. Then we heard about it. All Daf was starting. We met with you literally the next day, and you really put the wind in our sails by creating the portal within the Aldaf app and giving us the exposure. And so, as always, I just want to start with a hakaras tov to you and the Aldaf team for putting together as everybody knows, I'm saying the obvious, but a game-changing app for Lumdei Daf Yomi and just anybody who's learning any blot anywhere in Shas. The resources are remarkable, and we're just honored to be a part of it. So thank you so much. And we're about to begin our fourth year, so we should have continued hatzlacha. So we're this Thursday is our Zichru 1000 event, celebrating the fact that Lomdi Daf Yomi, remember the Daf day after day, and we've crossed that 1,000 blot milestone. So it is, as far as I know, unprecedented. It's exciting, and the fact that attorneys, real estate developers, so for people just learning the Daf while leading very busy lives, like every person who learns the Daf does, but they've been able to hold on to what they've learned from January 5th, 2020 to where we are today, day after day. It's remarkable. So we're going to have a feher at the event. It's in Passaic, New Jersey. We're going to have the privilege of having the Lakewood Rosh Hashiva, Rav Gaon, Rav Yerucham Olshan, give Divrei Bracha. We have Rabbi Avraham Shapiro coming up from Miami to speak. But the piece de resistance is going to be the feher, where our members, 20 of our members, are going to be tested on 1,000 blot, and that's 3,000 sugyas. And where sugyas come up, which daf, multiple dafim. So it's going to be hopefully really eye-opening for everybody, because as you said, it's not about having an exceptional memory. It's you don't have to do something totally beyond norm. It's within the grasp of everybody, and that's what we hope to demonstrate on Thursday night at the Zichru 1000 event.
As Rabbi Goldhar mentioned, it'll be phenomenal to see a scene of 20 people getting tested on 1,000 dafim. I actually had the opportunity to attend the previous event. I don't remember how many dafim, but it was
25%.
Okay. Plus. Of dafim, and you had people seeing the diversity of the people getting tested. I know people. We had someone sitting there who lives in Williamsburg who has brought Zichru to the Yiddish-speaking community. He'll proudly say himself that English is by far his second language, and he's much more comfortable speaking in Yiddish. And we have people literally who are modern Orthodox living in Teaneck, living in the five towns. So bringing the worlds together, I think, is something which is incredible, something that Meir Shapiro had in mind when he launched Daf Yomi, but seeing it in real time and in real life, sitting together on one stage, being tested on this is something which is truly incredible and truly remarkable.
Yeah, the diversity is going to be very, very impressive. And as you mentioned, we have now Zichru in Yiddish. It's available for the Yiddish-speaking world. And the wonderful thing is, as I say that, I've had the opportunity to speak at a Siyum for Bells a while back. And when they asked me to speak, I started by saying that, there's many different types of Yidden, and there's many different ways to learn the blot. But we all share the common frustration that we forget the same way. So Baruch Hashem, the pleasure and the enjoyment and the nachas people are getting from all together, collectively remembering so much, it really creates a commonality, and it's exciting when Zikru members, people remembering the blot, meet up each other, they have the same ideas of Torah, they can test each other. It's exciting wherever you are. It creates a tremendous sense of achdus.
Okay, so we're looking forward to being there, and those who can attend, seeing the video footage afterwards, and we hope to make it available for all DAF users as well. So Absolutely. At this point, I know we had discussed that you wanted to share a little bit about Zichru, how it works, how the Simanim is not just something which is a nice addition to your learning, but it's really sourced in Chazal. And Rabbi Goldhar could tell me on the spot, probably where in Shas Rav Kista told us about Simanim. We'll give him 2 seconds to think till I finish my sentence. And the misconception of how Simanim work. And lastly, how to go about doing it yourself. If you're not ready to join Zichru, I know we could discuss people perhaps fine till they get used to it. Maybe the sentences aren't exactly their style. But Goldhar could talk about how the Simanim they have to work in a way that gets your mind to think about something which is weird or different in concept from the general way your mind works. So first, where in Shas is there a reference to how Simanim are a source to memory?
All right. Well, a very prominent source is Erev and Daf Nun Daled, and goes into Daf Nun Hey as well. But there we have the famous mimer of Chisda, Eina Torah Niknas El B'Simanim. Torah is only acquired with Simanim. And I do want to underscore what you just had mentioned, is that I think that in the Welt und Jong, the general culture of learning, Simanim presently, again, it's a nice thing for people who are into it. It's a good additive. But, you meet those types of people who are doing Simanim, once in a while, once in a year, maybe even, But, and our hope is really to show that it's not that. In reality, Chazal really present a very compelling case. Rav Chisda says Torah is only acquired with Simanim, and we have a number of makoros. The most profound is the Chumash itself. Rakosh Baruch Hu says, Kisu lechem shira hazos v'sima b'piyam. Write the song down and put it in their mouths. And the Gemara says there in Erevin Daf Nun Daled, Al tikra sima al simana. Don't mean put it there with a simon, which means Rakosh Baruch Hu is giving us a mandate of how we're supposed to walk around and talk Torah is with Simanim. Another very profound place is in Shabbos Kuf Daled, where we have the Gemara that talks about the Aleph base and the meaning of the osios that went into creation itself. Aleph base, Aleph bina, Gimel Daled, Gomel Dalim, help the poor. Samech ayin, Simanim ase ukanei lecha Torah. Make Simanim and you'll acquire the Torah. So they're bred into the very fabric of the Bria creation is somehow Samech ayin, Simanim ase. So it's far from a fringe activity or concept. It really is core to what we all want, which is to own our Torah, to walk out of the Beis Midrash, walk out of learning, and then feel like the riches in your hands that you can do chazorah with. So we're not there yet in the way we relate to it, but I hope that we will get there. And the fact that we have members who now have 1,000 blot indicates that this is far from just a good thing that's helpful somewhat, but it's actually enabling a brand new level of achievement for Lomdei Daf Yomi. And if I can say this, who in a million years would have thought that Daf Yomi would be the thing to prove to everybody what's possible in terms of memory. That the fact is, it's really, I don't say machayev, but it definitely indicates that someone who's not learning a daf a day, what they're capable of, and everybody's capable of it. So the first thing I just want to say, Simanim are core to our aspirations, which is to acquire the Torah, and it's the way Chazal present to us that this is it. And if you think about it, just before we get into the methodology, which I want to share a lot of technique with you, with the people watching, is think of a simon this way. Imagine meeting people, everybody family members, cousins, community people professionally, and imagine a world where no one had a name. They just didn't have a name. I knew the person I'm speaking to, but I don't have a way to identify them. Think about how absolutely maddening that would be, because when you want to talk about something, well, where would you begin? Not to have an identifier, a label, to then say, oh, I'm speaking to Rabbi Shwed, great. Now everything I know about him can be filed under that name. It's just two words, but it makes a world of difference. So similarly, consider that a simon does the same thing. It's giving a name, an identity to a blot that you've learned. And therefore, everything you can learn from that blot can be then associated with it. And the more you know that blot, the more that name will resonate. So that's what we're doing, is we're naming. That's point number one that I want to underscore. The second thing is, just even though our program is called Zichru, I'm not a big fan of memorizing. This is not a memorizing program. A lot of people, cringe up when they think of their days in school of trying to memorize Havdil, Alf Havdalah, Shakespeare, or some other text. And this is not memorizing. This is organizing. Simanim is a way to get material, the Torah that you want and you love, you've learned in your head in an organized way. And I do want to share, if I can, just one fantastic mashal that Reb Sheya Seidenfeld, one of our members you mentioned from Williamsburg, shared with me. He was doing a demonstration for a Masifta, and they were faring him on Maseches Yuma at the time, and boom, 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 any topic at his fingertips. So everybody was, aghast. It was amazing. Their jaws were dropping. And he said to them, I know it looks very impressive, and it is impressive. And it's going to be impressive to see people remember 1,000 blot, 3,000 yediyas, and place that topic like that to the daf. But he said the following. He said, imagine going to the dentist, and you get to the counter, and she says, what's your name? I say, Goldhar. And she goes to the back, and there's all these files back there. And she goes straight to one row, pulls out a drawer, reaches in, and pulls out my file. When I say, wow, that's unbelievable. Like, how did you do that so quickly? It's not so impressive. It's just organized. So Simanim is about having an organized mind. An organized mind, that's the goal. Many people in learning have what I call, or ended up with what I call like a cholent brain. It's a cholent. It's there. It's percolating, hopefully somewhere. Sometimes it goes to the top of the cholent. Sometimes it sinks to the bottom, but it's not easily accessible. We're just getting rid of the cholent brain and creating a filing system. That's what Simanim do. They give an identity, a name, like a person to a person. It gives it to the blot. And similarly, it's just filing it. So it's very, very effective. And that's why Kodesh Baruch Hu is telling us to do it, because it's going to make a world of difference. So now, how do you do it? So I'm going to tell you the way we do it at Zichru. When we started Zikru with Rabbi Shwed, we had no idea, first of all, how many people would be, into doing it, would like this concept, and whether they'd want to use our Simanim. We figured, my partner and I, Barry Leibowitz, we felt that making Simanim is an effort, and let's make it at least available that we'll create Simanim for our members. They can use them, but they don't at all have to use them at all. They can just take the concept and run. So I want to encourage you, to those watching, I'm going to tell you the methodology that I use in coming up with the Simanim, and you can use it, if it makes sense to you, right away, and start to see, Amir Hashem, a big difference in your ability to retain, review, and hold on to what you've invested time in learning. So the way we do it in Zikru is every daf gets a standard simana title, an anchor. So it's the core to it. So daf base is a bias is a house, and gimel is a gamal is a camel, and dalet is a door, and a hay is a haystack, and a vav is a sword because it's vav is straight like a sword. Doesn't have to be our simanim, but those are our simanim, and we use these pegs as a standard thing for every blot. Meaning, the base in brachas is a bias, the base in nadarim is a bias. Every daf is every daf is standardized. And then what we do is we take 3 ideas. We chose 3 ideas because we felt we don't want to make it cumbersome in terms of people having too much loaded up. But at least, ideas from Amud Aleph, Amud Beis, we highly recommend that you do, because when you make a siman, just like when I think of Rabbi Shwed, I think of different elements of him. When you think of a blot, you want to think of Amud Aleph and Amud Beis, and having elements from both will help you see, for those who are visual, more of the blot, or remember what you've learned from the blot. So we take topics, and then what we do, once we choose those topics, we weave them into a story using that anchor for daf, base or gimel daled in our methodology. So, for example, daf nun in Zichru is now a nonstop flight, like an airplane, a nonstop flight. And the topics on Daf Nun, whereas the whole background, how Rabbi Akiva became very, very wealthy, one of the stories being with the mice with Rachel and Kabbalah Savua and the heter for the neder and so on. So that's, topic number 1. We have the story of Rabbi Shua ben Hananya and the mice of the Bas Kesar, the Caesar's daughter, saying, how can Torah be in such an ugly vessel? And he demonstrates that, why it makes sense. And thirdly, we have the whole mice with Bar Kapara, the unusual story of Bar Kapara, and not being invited to the custom of Yehuda and his responses, and then being invited. So those are our topics that we chose, that we want to focus on. And I want to mention that the goal of a siman is not to put everything from the daf into the siman. It's just to be a home base for the ideas. More material will clump on. The more chazor you do, the more you'll associate to that, just like a name to a person. You'll remember more to that name. So that's what we do. And now the siman happens to be for Daf Nun. It's a nonstop flight. So here you have a first class section, and there's a rabbi that became very, very wealthy because of the shver sitting there. And he's being served by the steward there with some very expensive wine from a kli bachura, from a clay vessel, to remind us of Yeshua ben Chananya. And opposite him is another passenger, very upset, sending an email, about not being invited to Chasna and what he said, and remind us of Bar Kapara, and that incident there. So that's it. So we take the 3 topics, we create a story. It's enjoyable, it's fun, and as I mentioned in the previous time we met, Rabbi Shwed, that in memory, weird works. The weirder something is, the better it is. Because you want to be able to create something which doesn't compete with everything else that's going on in your life. So weird works, and what we subsequently found, and that's Daf Nun. That's our Daf Nun Siman. And the beauty of this is the return on investment, because here we have a Siman now. Daf Nun's nonstop flight, Rabbi Akiva there, but wealthy because of his shver, the steward with the wine and the clay thing, and the rabbi sending an email, very upset. He wasn't invited to Chasna. That's it. It takes 15, 20, 30 seconds to review, which means in a minute you review 2 blot at least. And in 10 minutes you can review 20 blot. And the magic is in the numbers, because once you can hold on to that, if I can say, is that at the end of the day, it will take, for a masechta that's 60 blot, half an hour to do chazorah. So, 9 nadarim is 90 blot. So it's going to take 45 minutes of chazorah. Yes.
I may have overstepped my bounds here, but I brought on a live member here. So we don't have to believe Rabbi Goldhar. We don't have to trust him. He's here selling his product that he created. We have Reb Sheya Seidenfeld here from Williamsburg. and he could attest to exactly what Rabbi Goldhar is saying. So, Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi Avraham and Moshe. I was unexpected. I was like, okay, you tell me to join. I was like, I didn't know what I'm going to join. But yes.
Great to see you.
So we're discussing Zichru. We're up to 1,000 Dafim. We're past that already. It's going to be a major celebration, a major event in the next couple of days. Rabbi Goldhar said he's going to have 20 people sitting there who are going to be testing a feher on 1,000 Dafim of Zichru Simanim. I had the opportunity a few months ago to meet Rabbi Seidenfeld in Williamsburg. I'm also stepping my bounds. Any person who's in Williamsburg, they're there for a wedding or they're stopping by, be in touch with Reb Sheya. He's happy to sit down with you, talk to you, show you around Williamsburg, give you a tour anytime. The best tour guide. He's been there from the day he was born. So, Reb Sheya, tell us from your perspective, someone, a Hasidic Yid, how'd you get to the Zichru, these weird sentences, these weird Simanim? Give us, in a couple minutes, from where you heard about this and where you are today.
Okay, I'll try to make it very short. Even short, it will be probably about 2 hours. So I'll make it extremely short. But I want to correct you what you said, that the Avraham is selling his program. He's not selling a program. This is a program. It's free for everybody. And it's just, if someone starts tasting it, they're never going to move away. But the reason is, I was always in Shiva learning, but I never remembered, only a little bit, about when Dafim was at Arve Psuchen of Tzadik Tes. I think it was almost like 2 years ago. I saw like an ad, something like, you remember the Daf? And I was like, yeah, it's never going to happen. But I figured, you know what, let me try it. So I started trying it. And it started Arve Psuchen of Tzadik Tes. And the first day I was waiting, excited. I'm going to remember the Daf. Like, yes. Like I always say, it's like someone's telling me that I'm going to learn how to fly. Yes, you can learn me how to fly, never going to happen. But yeah, I'll try it. And at Tzadik Tes became a cheetah. To be honest, I didn't know what a cheetah. I didn't understand what he's saying. I started Googling. I did a Google. Okay, cheetah. Okay, fine. I know what a cheetah is.
Cheetah, the animal.
The animal, all right. But I didn't have a clue. I'm from Williamsburg. Okay, so I started the 3 points. I didn't know what to put in my head, 3 points. Okay, then we Keef was a monkey. I got stuck. Keef Aleph was cool. A bird caller. I was like, a bird cool? A car? A cool? I Googled, even Google didn't know the answer. The bottom line is I figured I'm committed. I'm going to do it till the finish of Arve Psuchen, because like Avraham said always, in the beginning it's hard, but you get used to it. And then he said that it's gonna be Pesach by the side there. When you sit by the side, you remember the whole Arve Psuchen. It's about 21 blot, and you know 3 points in each blot. I was like, yeah. But I did it every single day. It was very, very tough because I was coming from Williamsburg, learning in Yiddish and then flipping it in English. It was a little bit conflict, but I would say that Pesach, I was sitting by the side there. When I ate my 2 matzahs, it took like whatever the 5 minutes, I did the whole chazurah with Arve Psuchen in my head with the Simanim, and then I knew that this is going to work, because if I know 20 blot, it's going to work. It's for whole Shas. There's no reason why not. You just have to do the chazurah. And like I said, everybody, it's not a vaccine that you take a vaccine and you're going to remember everything. You don't have to learn. You have to learn. You have to chazer. This is just a small tool, but this is going to make all the difference. Not a little bit, not a little bit more. It's going to be everything. It's going to change your life, your family's life, your friend's life, everybody.
Amazing. So very quickly, if you have 2 more minutes, tell us your Seder Hayom using Zichru. And I understand, we're going to tell everybody, not everyone could do this, not everyone does do the same way Reb Sheya does it, but I think you could get an example of how he's able to use Zichru for his Sedarim and his Seder Al-Libon, and everyone can take it and use it their own way, whoever is possible.
And again, I will tell it what it is, but I'm really, if anybody has questions, I want to do how to set up in the beginning. It's different, because once you have more and more Dafim, you have to change it a little bit around. I'm always available. There's a lot of different people that are available to help. I also got a lot of help from Avraham and other people, so I was in the same boat as everybody else. So basically what I do is I do it in the morning. I do the blot. I learn the blot. It takes me about an hour to learn the blot. After I finish the blot, I listen to Rabbi Avraham Shirim. It's about 50 minutes, because 5 minutes for the Nuba, then Chazur, about 50 minutes. Then I have another 20 minutes. That's another 20 minutes. 10 minutes, I do Chazur of the last 20 blots. Let's say, for example, this week, I learn every day from Mem Aleph till Samach Bay, Samach Gimel. That's the new 20 blot. And then I do a 20 blot chazura of the last 100 blot. For example, I chazur from Ksibis, Daf Chuf, every day 20 blot. So it's like the old 100 and the new 20. Because you always have to put in more work on the new ones till it gets like engraved. It takes not more than 10 minutes, maybe 10 minutes each. 20 minutes, this is what I do every day. Then the end of the day, I have another 10 minutes. I do the blot for that day. I make sure that when I go to sleep, I know that blot, the 3 Simanim, what's on that blot. That's like in short.
Amazing.
Amazing, Reb Sheya. Thank you for your time. Maybe one
I
time
want to put just a small thing because this is something that is different. Reb Avraham, all people that Reb Avraham are surrounded, they're like happy with 3 points. When it comes to the Hasidic Oilam, I have no idea why. Everybody has the same questions. Oh, I want to remember 3 points. I want to remember everything. So always ask them, okay, no problem. What are you learning? Okay, what's on Daf Mem Gimel? Oh, Mem Gimel, no. Where's this Gemara? No. So you don't know anything. But this is, I can confirm to you, it's not only me, it's a lot of people. If you do the 3 Simanim and you do the Chazura, you will remember 95%, even 98% from everything that you learned. Like it will be 100 blot, 500, 600 blot, 700 blot. Absolutely.
Sheya, it's great to see you. Thank you so much.
Same way.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Looking forward to seeing you on the panel with the 20 people.
So in terms of the simon, I just want to point out that for people should realize that some people are more visual. I mean, they see pictures in their minds more readily, and some people are more auditory. They hear things. I happen to be more visual, and it's interesting. When we started, I remember that when we started Zikru for this Machzor, Rabbi Shwed asked me, "Are we going to have pictures of these stories?" And I thought to myself, like, pictures? Wow, I've never made a picture for a simon. That's kind of childish. That was my gut reaction. And we didn't do pictures. But then members kept asking us, what about doing illustrations, pictures, and so on? And eventually I said, okay, listen, let's give it a go. Send some pictures. And sure enough, the pictures were remarkably helpful. And for myself, I'm more visual. The pictures were like terrific. And that's how I do chazor. So we have illustrations of it, and I highly recommend when you come up with a simon, a person comes up, your story, your way of connecting it, you don't need a fancy artist to do it. Just take a little scratch pad. We had people making stick figure illustrations, just a little stick figure. But if you're visual, that will do a remarkable amount and show you how easy it is to retain it. Other members are more auditory. And in fact, we have a chabura here in Passaic on Shabbos before Mincha, on Shabbos day. And so we do a round robin of, Zikru members, sing the blot. And we usually do about 40, 50, 60 blot in an hour before Mincha. And we had a member from Queens come who was there for Shabbos. And we just say the topics. We see, most of us are visual. We see the topics and we say them. But this member said the actual simon. He actually says the entire story because he's more auditory. So if you're auditory, come up with a good story and, use the words and that'll help you. So play to your strength. At Zichru, we try to play it both chasnas. We create a story that can be pictured, but that's the main effort is to come up with a story. All you're doing, think about it, when you're making a simon is you finish the blot, you finish winning the daf. What's something I'd like to retain from this blot? What's the basic ideas? And the goal is not to get every prat from the blot in there, even on that topic, just Rosh Hashanah, just what's the general thing, and then write it down. Write it down. I'm a big fan of note-taking, but write it down so you have a record. It's easy to read, easy to review. And again, because of efficiency, you write it down. So on one single page, you could have 10 blot right there. You just pull it out and there you go. Wherever you are waiting for davening to start, you could do chazor of the Simanim that you've created for yourself. So it's all about efficiency. So all you're doing is taking the amount of time you invested into learn the blot to say, okay, what am I going to come back to? And if I can, I want to underscore something that Reb Sheya mentioned. Many people, and I just met someone recently, who was like an all or nothing type person. 3 points. I don't know, but what about the entire body? So I say to him, I said, listen, if you could consider that the all or nothing strategy might be a Yetzer Hara, all or nothing, then think about it. Does the Yetzer Hara really want you to have all? Is he really presenting you with a choice? It's either all or nothing. Absolutely not. The Yetzer Hara wants you to have absolutely zilch, nothing, garnished. So he says it's all or nothing. And we know that there's never a limit, a ceiling on what all is. So whatever you do, it'll never be enough. So it gets you to eventually walk away with garnished. So with 3 points on the idea, again, it's not the sum total of what you're going to retain. You will remember more, but you don't, tafasta maruba. With Simanim, the magic is that you choose a couple points, 3 points, max, let's say, put it in. It's very manageable, and you're good to go. And the mind is an endless palette. It's an endless palette. You can just, whatever association connection works, you're good to go. So you're not constrained. This is not a Schwitz type program. This is a remarkable return on investment that you're going to be able to do. And remember, Kodesh Baruch Hu is telling us this is the way it should be in our mouths. Sima b'fihem, with Simanim. If a Kodesh Baruch Hu wants us to talk Torah, it has to be pleasurable. It can't be a heavy load. So Simanim give you that pleasure to talk Torah wherever. And that's what I would, the main things I would keep in mind in terms of making Simanim.
Okay. Excellent, Rabbi Goldhar. We are looking forward to the event. Probably people will see this mainly after the event. And as we started at the beginning, we'll be able to share video presentation for people to actually see in real time. Real people from all over the place, from all sects of Klal Yisrael, who actually have memory. We don't like calling it memory, have organized 1,000 Dafim in their minds. And Rabbi Goldhar mentioned Reb Sheya Seidenfeld, who we just had on with his muscle, with the dentist. Basically, I remember you, Rabbi Goldhar, telling me this way back when we started. It's like a filing cabinet. You have to set up your brain like a filing cabinet, organized. You can just open drawers and pull out files. And that's the goal over here. So continue the amazing work. Anybody out there, certainly give it a try. Even if you give it a try and you fail, try it again. Like everything else in life, there's certainly something you'll be able to gain from this. And whether you're able to use this program or any other type of memory program, is certainly something that is worth giving a try. And who knows, you may be sitting in your car instead of getting frustrated with the traffic, just thinking about Nedarim Daf Mem Zayin. Who knows?
Right. In fact, if I can just tell you one final story, we actually, Reb Sheya told me this, that someone actually made a mistake on the date of the event, and he came the week before Hanukkah from Williamsburg to Passaic for the event, and it wasn't going on. But he wrote in the email, but it wasn't a problem. My chavrus and I, we chazan Nedarim on the way there, and Ksubas on the way back. So it's really remarkable. You can do it, and by all means, you go to, learn from our Simanim. You can see how I've crafted the Simanim. You'll pick up a lot of tips along the way, so you can do it on your own for whatever you're learning. I want to wish you a tremendous amount of tzlacha, and thank you, Rabbi Shwed and the All Daf team. It's just a wonderful privilege and pleasure to be part of the All Daf platform.
Thank you for the kind words. And again, as Rabbi Goldhar just underscored with that story, it's not only about knowing more Dafim and feeling good about that. Other aspects in your life may feel better as well when your brain is focused on chazering Dafim. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.